Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jonathan Edelheit, Editor-in-Chief of the Corporate Wellness Magazine and Director of the Corporate Health and Wellness Association. And I'm going to be presenting along with my co-host today on opportunities in the fitness and nutrition space, specifically in the corporate area, and how fitness and nutrition professionals are really needed in the corporate wellness space. And my co-presenter today, I'm excited to have her with us, is Amy Hoff, who is a corporate fitness consultant with Hoff Fitness. And, you know, Amy is a corporate fitness consultant and co-founder of FitKit. It's an employee fitness solution. She's in New York City, and she consults on corporate health and fitness in this very specific niche, in supporting employers in their internal wellness efforts and trying to introduce fresh techniques and advancements from across the health and fitness industry. And her specific skill set, obviously, is the fitness and nutrition side. She brings a personal touch to it and a very different perspective on how to implement already successful wellness programs. And the Corporate Health and Wellness Association and the EHBC has partnered with Amy this year to help create the industry's first ever corporate fitness and corporate nutrition conference and certification program that will be implemented at the Corporate Wellness Conference coming up in the next few weeks. So I'm really excited about that. And the way we're going to handle the webcast today is I'm going to go through some slides about the Corporate Wellness Association, and a little bit about our organization, and then I'm going to turn it over to Amy. And Amy's going to go into, opportunities in fitness and nutrition and her experience. And then we're going to go into, after that, a little bit about the two new certifications that the association has launched in corporate fitness and corporate nutrition. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Corporate Wellness Conference, and then we're going to turn it over at the end for questions and answers for anybody who has questions and answers for Amy and I. And at any time, you can type in questions into the question box. We'll see if we can answer them during the webcast. Specifically, we'll just answer them afterwards. And then we're going to, this is being recorded, so we'll make this webcast with the PowerPoint available to you after if there's anything you'd like to, follow up on it. So talk a little bit about the corporate wellness industry. There's, I would say we've seen over the last couple of years tremendous growth in corporate wellness. Meaning that, I started corporate wellness when I ran a national health insurance administrator. I implemented some of the first plans in the early 2000s. And we've seen where it wasn't even called corporate wellness now to the, today where most employers actually implement corporate wellness. And some of these stats have actually increased, significantly, but, there's no current study or research out there that really has given the updated numbers for 2014. But 90% of employers with more than 50,000 workers, offer a wellness program. I think the numbers are, almost similar for mid-sized employers today. 50% of employers with at least 50 workers offer a wellness program. And obviously we know that 75% of healthcare dollars go toward preventable conditions. And so, the Affordable Care Act is very positive. The healthcare reform or Obamacare is very positive for corporate wellness because it supports prevention, but the Affordable Care Act doesn't reduce health insurance costs. Costs are going up because it doesn't reform medical malpractice laws. It doesn't reform the cost of pharmaceuticals or medical supplies and equipment. And because of that, employers are really looking at what do we do to lower costs. And when you do that, really, they've tried consumer-driven plans, they've tried high-deductible plans. There's not much out there that really can have an effect. And so employers have all turned to corporate wellness. And the next evolution in that process, that we've seen as the Corporate Health and Wellness Association is the fact that a lot of employers have implemented very comprehensive corporate wellness programs that are very intense, and also very expensive. And there's a little bit of a shift in the industry now where a lot of employers and the members of our association have come back and basically said, you know what, we want to go back to basics. We realize, if 75% of healthcare expenses are all preventable, we need to focus on just getting employees to take that baby step in eating right and exercising. And that it's our responsibility as a corporation to really teach employees how to do that effectively. So we've kind of got the mandate from the Corporate Health and Wellness Association to go and start focusing on fitness and health and nutrition in the workplace. So the Corporate Health and Wellness Association, we're the national trade association. We're a 501c6 nonprofit that's made up of employers to help employers really collaborate, share best practices, share case studies, share what works, what doesn't in wellness, and also share which are the right vendors, which aren't the right vendors, and who we should work with. And then we publish the Corporate Wellness Magazine, which is the only magazine in the industry dedicated to corporate wellness. We have about 100,000 readers, that read the magazine every year. And we are really the biggest influencer in the HR insurance industry that's out there. We manage one of the largest HR groups and have a partnership now with the HR Professionals Association, which has almost 200,000 members on LinkedIn, of which we're going to be branding and doing education for our certified corporate wellness specialists and also our new corporate fitness and corporate nutrition certification programs. So this is going to roll out later this year, so we're really excited about that partnership. But we reach about 500,000 members in LinkedIn and about 1 million through our email list and our magazine. So in total, about 1.5 million. And I just want to run through some of the groups that we actually own and manage. So, I think it's a great place to learn, to get updates, to see what's happening in the industry, but also to connect with people in the industry. So if you're not a member of our corporate wellness group, I think it's up to 28,000 on LinkedIn. You should really look at joining that. I already mentioned the HR Professionals Association group. We also manage the Luxury Hotel and Hospitality group, which has about 200,000 members. And we're doing a lot with corporate wellness with the hotel space because actually there's a trend now where hotels can actually implement corporate wellness and service local employers and get reimbursement for some of those treatments. And obviously they can be a location for corporate fitness and nutrition also. And then we manage the healthcare reform group with about 31,000 senior professionals from the insurance and HR space. The benefits and health and welfare professional group with almost 30,000, which are senior benefits executives, and about 30 other groups. We're really focused all year on doing a lot of case studies. We do about 100 webcasts and white papers each year. We're really engaging people. So, I would say get engaged, go to our website, thewellnessassociation.com, and look at how, you can participate in our webcasts, our white papers, road shows we do around the country, and some of our continuing education credit programs. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy to talk a little bit about her history and her experience.
Hi, Jonathan. I'm not sure if you can see me or not. I'm hoping you can because I sort of lost the video here. Let me just try to pull that back up again.
We can see you.
You can see me. Okay. I just can't see myself, and that doesn't matter. Okay. So, hi, guys. I'm so glad to be here today, and so much of what Jonathan was just talking about, it excites me even more every time I hear how much is happening in the corporate wellness space. Mostly because there was something on one of the slides about 50% of employers with 50 employees or more have corporate wellness programs. And what I'm really starting to see is that more and more of those companies with smaller employees as well as more people are coming on board. So it's just continuing to grow. So just a quick little bit about myself. I have been in the fitness industry for probably about 15, 16 years now. Started as a personal trainer. And I've always done personal training and will always continue to do personal training. But I started to really think about my future and how I can sort of create more of a financial security is also using my knowledge base and sharing it with people in different ways. And so what I started to do is to look into various things. I also do media spokesperson work for all kinds of companies. I'm a big media contributor, fitness and nutrition media contributor. And I started to get into working with all kinds of populations because this way I was just trying to broaden my offerings. And so one of the things I was starting to realize, though, was that I was very much backed into a corner as far as what I was able to do. Like, I sort of felt stuck. I said, okay, I'm a personal trainer. I can speak in front of people. I can be in the media, but, like, I felt very limited. I felt very limited with how much money I was making because I was just pretty much hourly. I felt limited in what I was doing. And I wanted to use my knowledge. I had a lot of knowledge and certifications, and I wanted to really sort of get out there to a larger audience. And I also thought that if I worked for myself, who was going to promote me? Who was going to give me a raise? And so I really had to start to think long and hard about that, and I really wanted to expand my network. So I knew that it was time to make a switch, really increase my skill set and get out there, and more importantly, make some money for the future and kind of secure my own future. And I kept hearing about this sort of corporate wellness word, and I thought, corporate wellness, all right, well, I'm into wellness. I know health, I know fitness, I know nutrition. So it sounded really interesting and something that I really wanted to pursue. But I kind of started questioning myself, like, do I have what it takes? You know, but more importantly, what does it even take? I had absolutely no clue what it took. And so I had all of these questions in my mind, and the more I looked into it, I kind of came to realize that most companies, they have corporate wellness programs like Jonathan was saying, and more are jumping on the bandwagon. It's kind of like one of those things where, you know, if everyone sees what everyone else has and everyone else is doing it, everyone wants to be part of that team. So I also, though, just didn't really know the quality, like how I was looking into what I could bring to the table and starting to realize that they did not have a lot of what I was offering as far as specific fitness and nutrition information. They just didn't have that skill set. And so I started to really explore this a little bit more and look into conferences and meetings and all kinds of information. And what Jonathan mentioned is I do have a product called FitKit, and what was happening was companies with these big corporate wellness programs were coming to us and saying, hey, can we logo this and use this in our wellness program? So I started to sort of get a little bit more of an in with this, and that's when I went, all right, there's really something here. So I went to the conference last year in Las Vegas, and that was really sort of, I realized these guys have the biggest offerings out there out of anybody in corporate wellness. So I was like, I've got to be partnered with them. So I did take a booth for my product. But then what I also did was I went in and I started looking at all of the speakers, and I realized that those guys, Jonathan and his whole team, had brought on people who were exactly the people who I needed to get in front of. Number one, I wanted to meet and to network with, but I also wanted to learn from. You know, I just had so many questions, you know, especially like, what were their concerns as far as fitness and nutrition? What were their issues that they were facing, and how are the programs being developed and executed, and where could I sort of lend my expertise? So I really did have tons and tons of questions, and basically this is what my brain looks like. I also needed to understand like where my knowledge of fitness and nutrition and my expertise was best utilized. What could I bring to the table to companies that already have up and running wellness programs? And what was already being done successfully, and where could I really, as a fitness professional, add some value? But the real big question was, okay, I understand what's out there and what capabilities and possibilities that there are, but like, where do I even start with this? What do I charge? I'm used to charging one-on-one personal training or nutrition, so I had all of these questions, and I really didn't know much about the corporate world. I'm used to wearing sweatpants all day. Did I even need a suit? You know, these are the funny questions that were going through my head. And also, what aspects of it were right for me? Where could I utilize my my talents and best add value? So anyway, my head was swimming. So I attended the conference last year in Las Vegas because I just wanted to learn as much as I could about corporate wellness and to learn, you know, who the decision makers were, identify who the key players were, and how my skill set could be applied, and gain some insight into the corporate structure, really, to really understand HR and benefits, because I didn't have much of a sense of what even they did. But that's who I know were the sort of the stepping stone into corporate wellness, were the HR and benefits team. Basically, what am I up against if I decide to do that? So from the conference, I walked away with so much information and so many contacts because I really got in there and I really sort of just said, hey, I want to learn from you. I really want to kind of soak up all of that knowledge. So I walked away with a real fire in my belly. But also that conference last year that these guys put on completely solidified, my suspicion of what the corporate market and the corporate wellness world, what they really are lacking and what they really need and what they're striving for. Some of the general ideas that I want to share with you that sort of help you understand where these companies are and just to kind of give you a broad overview of what I found. And so many companies, let's just start sort of with the basics so you get a general idea. So basically what I'm going to share with you are all of the things that I had to find out for myself. I'm going to teach you all of the mistakes, and that's what this certification that Jonathan was talking about. If you come, we're from A to Z, we're going to teach you everything. But just as some general things of what the companies I found, most of them offer very basic wellness offerings, from biometric screenings and baseline measurements to blood pressure, cholesterol levels, weight. They sometimes prescribe stress tests and cancer screenings, which is great. And they also offer things like smoking cessation programs, walking clubs, there's Biggest Loser challenges, how many steps a day do you take, they have health fairs, all that kind of stuff, so that's able to sort of something that the HR people can handle. And they also offer a lot of incentives for people to participate with this. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but at the conference you can learn a lot more about what Jonathan was talking about, a little bit more about what are the incentives and sort of the health care benefits from that side of it. And health premiums, all that kind of stuff that I don't know much about and I still don't know much about, but I'm learning slowly. And these are some additional offerings. This is what I love. I started to find some of the companies I started working with. This was great because a lot of people who have on-site cafeterias, they start to really sort of bring in nutritionists to help them. What are we supposed to be offering? Offer the calorie choices, offer the nutrition density of foods. They also have snack rooms, much healthier snack rooms. Even healthy vending machines is one thing that I just love, was helping a client with putting in some healthy vending machines, taking out all the junk food and putting in really healthy offerings. They host Weight Watchers meetings. This is a great one too, I was with a company out in Colorado where they offer now bike storage. So their employees can ride their bikes to work. So a lot of these companies are really starting to think outside the box and need people to come in and offer things, this is what I mentioned, and they had the space, and so they were able to put that in. And it really is a benefit for their employees, not just to be healthier, but the employees really appreciate it. They have, of course, on-site fitness facilities, some of them, and if they don't, they can offer discounts to gyms in the neighborhood. And with that, then they also have on-site fitness and nutrition people, like trainers and nutritionists. So this is really fun too, because I'm starting to notice some of the companies are really starting to have advanced offerings. I did not even know what an ergonomic specialist was, but when I started to look into some of my clients, they were having issues with productivity, and I started to look at their workspaces. So I actually found an ergonomic specialist that came in and worked with each and every employee at their desk and really set all the heights properly, so that really sort of diminished on a lot of use injuries. Many of them have physical therapists on board, and even behavioral and mental and occupational therapists, which, they also bring them on as coaches, sort of wellness coaches, I guess, in the sense of behavioral and mental, and people who don't necessarily need a therapist per se, but they be lacking in certain skills that they need to improve upon. And so that's another great offering. So what I started to really realize is that they were looking to grow their offerings. Beyond all of these offerings that they had, they wanted to reach a much greater employee population and develop ideas to sort of stimulate engagement, which is a big thing that you'll hear with companies, is how do they engage their employees in activity and eating nutritiously. So a lot of the HR and corporate wellness teams have kind of hit a little bit of a wall. They're unsure of what to do next, or they know, but they just don't have the skill sets to do that. They understand the benefits of activity and healthy eating and nutrition, but again, they want to implement more into the programs, but they're really unsure of what they do. So that is, of course, where you come in. You have the skill sets. you have the knowledge base, you have the degrees and the certification in fitness and nutrition. So the question becomes then, okay, so you're a personal trainer and you're a nutritionist. So how do you get from this to this, where you are going from working in the weight room to being in a boardroom where you're consulting with clients and speaking maybe on topics, from sort of teaching one-on-one and getting into speaking engagements, and from sitting on the gym floor with a client to sitting in a boardroom and brainstorming around a conference table with corporate wellness teams. And so also, how do you get to where you can help HR directors understand a little bit more of what their employees need from an activity and a nutrition perspective? And also where you can secure yourself to do weekly lunch and learns and teach workout classes or work in their on-site facilities as trainers and nutritionists and managers. So again, like I mentioned earlier, I basically learned the hard way. I kind of had to do all of this myself along with some of my other colleagues who are going to be speaking at the event, and a lot of employers also who are kind of sharing their experiences. But the truth is there's just so much business growth here, and we don't want you to have to go and figure it out for yourselves. We want to be able to help you kind of find that success in the corporate space without trying to, reinvent the wheel. The good news is that many companies are really allocating a bigger budget to their wellness programs these days. So, that really just says, okay, well, that just means that there's more of a space for me there. They want to pay you basically to come in and help you build their programs and consult on projects and develop and collaborate ideas, and there's all kinds of ideas that you can do. And so, we want to be able to teach you at this conference and through this certification, how to make that happen. All of us, from the employers, the fitness and nutrition professionals who've already successfully been working in this space, we want to share with you what we've learned, and we want to share our paths, and we want to share our struggles and our successes, what we've learned and what we want you to know. It's basically from A to Z, all the ins and the outs, and everything in between you're going to be able to learn. So this is the certification, and I love these logos. I think that they're awesome, which is great because, once you become certified, you get to put this on your website, you get to put this on your business card. And so becoming a corporate fitness and nutrition professional, it's going to give you that credibility. It's going to give you that confidence. It's going to give you that knowledge and that network of people to sort of succeed in the corporate wellness market. This is the only certification, which I was so glad to partner with them on because it's so needed. It's the only one out there right now, and I'm so excited to work with them to bring this to all of you. We just realized that having the certification, is not enough. It's how to get out there and sort of be a part of the community and being out there. So the big question is then, how do you get out there? How do you take that leap? How do you make that transition? What's necessary to make that transition into the corporate market? When do you know? This was a big one for me. When am I ready to give up my one-on-one clientele? And do you even have to give them up? So where I am right now is slowly and surely I started to scale back on them. But the truth is I'm a fitness professional. I work one-on-one with people. I love that, and I will be doing that probably all of my life, regardless of getting into the corporate market. So I left the conference last year with a million ideas of how my head again was swimming about all the different things that I could do and bring to the table, and fitness and nutrition programs that I felt that companies could really benefit from and impact their employees as well, and also ideas of how to implement them and strategies of gaining participation and engagement. So I knew what I wanted to do, and I know where I knew where I wanted to go, and what I wanted the end result to be. I just wasn't quite sure how to make that happen. I had all these ideas in my head, or even like what route should I take. But I did have trust that I had a strong understanding of what the corporate wellness market was lacking, and that it could benefit from what I and also all of you have to offer. So first what I did is I, back up just a little bit, I kind of solidified my ideas on paper. I started with small projects and, that they had growth potential. We'll get into scaling in just a second. But that was also what I had to have in my mind. If I was working with one-on-one clients and then going to working with a company with 10 employees versus 10,000 employees, what does that look like? And I decided to go big. I really thought to myself, all right, in a perfect world, if I was handed an opportunity with a company, sort of take an existing successful corporate wellness program and collaboratively develop a a wellness plan that they may not be, sort of thinking outside the box with, helping them with new ideas and helping them implement them, and how to create an even more successful program, where they would have, of course, the end result is a healthier employee base. And increase morale and energy and all of that stuff. So I started to reach out to the corporate and wellness directors, which again, in this conference, we're going to share with you how do you do all of that. And after talking to companies and getting a better understanding of their needs, I was able to draw up a proposal, and which of course I had no idea how to do. That was something I had to learn from some of my peers and business friends, which again, we're going to teach you all about writing proposals and how to present it to clients. And I also had to discuss and figure out with people what a pricing structure was. How do I even figure that out? Because that was something where, okay, if I'm going to be going and working as a one-on-one person, I know what I price for that, what I charge for that. So all of that stuff too, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be giving a talk with Erica Rooney from Verizon, all about pricing and structure and things like that at the conference. So I'm really excited to share that with you. So I just wanted to share also with you that, some of the things that I have done with companies, many different kinds of projects. It's endless as to the possibilities that you can do. They're just general corporate-wide events where maybe it's the Biggest Loser Challenge, or maybe it's management design of the facility, which was really a lot of fun I did with one client. I went in and I helped them. I didn't design the space, but I helped them figure out which equipment and what cardio machines and strength machines and everything that they wanted. Again, with the on-site cafeteria design. There's lunch and learns, there's boot camp classes, there's just so much out there that I want you to start to sort of think outside the box and where your talents are. And also to start to think about working with the different levels and what you can bring to the table on different levels. I started working with sort of what I learned is called the C-suite. That was another term that I learned, which is basically CEO, CFO, all of that, and HR employees. And again, this is stuff that I was so incredibly intimidated by, but once I got my feet wet and started to get in there, I kind of really understood everything, and sort of still working my way through other options and offerings that I could give to these companies. And as you can see here, I mean, these are just so many of, just a few, I guess, of a wide variety of areas that you can go in and consult on. And I know that there's, tools. The tools are where I sort of help companies figure out what their needs are. And I have sort of a resource base now of whether it be activity trackers or all kinds of people out there that I can work with, platforms for tracking food and nutrition, everything from, gosh, I don't even want to get into it, but we do have one of the topics we talk about at the conference about that as well. Support and community, helping them get out involved in the community with fitness events and all things like that. How to choose a champion, training programs. This is another big thing where they need personal trainers in their on-site facilities to come in, and nutritionists to come in and work one-on-one with their clients as a coach. So this is also one of the companies I recently spoke to, or worked with, and we're going to be speaking at the conference on. I was able to go into a company and do an 8-week sort of a test pilot, which I was able to sort of take everything that I wanted to do and go into this company, and we worked with their headquarter employees, 40 of them, and over 8 weeks. And what we did is we piloted an activity and a nutrition challenge where we combined high touch with high tech. So this is something that I've been wanting to test because as a personal trainer, I'm working one-on-one with people. You know, the goal of the pilot was to determine if this combined method really did increase engagement and sustainability of behavior over change, how much of it was high touch and how much of it was high tech and what the employees needed. You know, many companies use, you know, high tech features, but because I've seen the success rate so much in high touch in what I do with personal training and coaching, we just wanted to see what the impact was going to be on that high touch versus high tech. So anyway, I'm happy to say it was a huge success, and we're going to be presenting the results at the conference on a panel discussion next month when we're in DC. So back to the scalability, how do you take, if this was just a test pilot that I did with them for 40 of their headquarter employees, how do I scale this program to 40,000 employees or somewhere in between? You know, there's so much to take into account, but that's, again, something that we're going to share with you at the conference. You know, you're going to take into so many things that are going to be into consideration. You know, their budget, the employee size, the availability of space, the populations you're going to be working with. As you know now, many of you working with nutrition and fitness clients who have very specific populations. You know, but again, you're going to learn how to scale that, all of those offerings. And these are just a few of the companies that I've been working with. And it's really quite fun because I start working with somebody, and then once I kind of get in and really understand their program, I can really offer so much more to them once I understand what their employee needs are. So again, back just to the summary of this, you know, it's a growing market. It's a huge, huge, huge market, and we have the skill set that they need. And, you know, many HR people are bringing on board fitness and nutrition professionals, that, and especially if you have that certification or you learn exactly how to work with them in this, that's just going to benefit, give you that much more credibility. So, you know, making the transition, you know, you really just sort of need to understand how to make that happen. And again, I don't want to have you go through everything that I had to go through and make all the mistakes and take as long as I did to learn how to do everything. So we'd love for you to join us in a couple of weeks, actually, down in DC. And I'm so excited to share this information with all of you. So hopefully you'll join us. And I think with that, Jonathan, I'm going to send it right back to you.
Thanks, Amy. That was really some great background and information. And you know, one of the things that I didn't mention before is, you know, as the corporate wellness market shifts and there becomes this much, much bigger focus on just the fitness and nutrition in the workplace, I look at, you know, the fitness and nutrition professionals that are out there, you know, currently, not in the corporate space, as this is the way we can really make a huge impact and change here in U.S. healthcare, because there's not enough corporate wellness professionals out there to actually go into the workplace and do wellness for employers, both large and also mid-size. You know, so the fitness and nutrition professionals out there, by getting trained and getting educated and becoming certified, you know, they can provide that grassroots approach where we can have more wellness programs being implemented across the country, and they can fill that massive human resource gap that I think that's there. So before I go into the certification, you know, the Corporate Wellness Conference is the official conference of the Corporate Health and Wellness Association. We host it once per year. It's the only event of its kind. So it's 24th in Washington, D.C. You know, we bring in all the national employers to come and do case studies. And we focus, you know, it's not where you have companies that are doing stuff in wellness that they're selling to you. It's the actual employers implementing it who said this is what works, this is what doesn't. HR professionals can get their continuing education credit by attending it. And, you know, we do leading employer case studies from big companies like IBM, LinkedIn, you know, NASA, Dell, Google. You know, we've had presentations before. You know, I remember 2 years ago when we had the director of benefits for Google come and speak. sharing what Google's doing, but there was a restriction of, this can't be videoed, it can never be shared afterwards, it's only for when I come and do it live, because they don't want any of their competitors to learn about it. So you get a lot of inside intelligence from coming to the conference and listening to these national employers share their case studies. And then what we've done this year is rolled out the Corporate Fitness and Nutrition Conference, which happens alongside the Corporate Wellness Conference as its own event, just focused on corporate fitness and nutrition. And we have 10 educational sessions with case studies from like Chipotle to LinkedIn to Verizon. These are all of our speakers. We got LL Bean speaking, Tesla Motors, Hewlett Packard, Google, Josh from Google. We got the Cleveland Clinic. So it's a really dynamic group, really sharing what's happening in the corporate fitness and nutrition space. So I think it's really cool, and I don't think there's anywhere else in the country you can go and find this information. So other things that we're doing at our conference focused on fitness and nutrition, we're having our third annual Healthy Foods in the Workplace Forum, where we bring in employers to sit around a table, 30 to 40 employers talking about what they're doing in the workplace to get people to eat healthy, as Amy was talking about, whether it's vending machines with healthy foods, to making sure in the cafeteria there's healthy foods, and then going into what some employers are doing, like a Procter & Gamble, they put their water coolers in the staircases, and they paint the staircases and pump music to the staircases to get people, to use the stairs, rather than, to use the elevators. There's a lot of cutting-edge things that are being done that's shared. We have launched the first wearable device competition, where employers are going to wear some of the wearables and activity monitors, and then we're going to actually rank them and rate them, and do some coverage of them. And then we have a think take, a round table on wearables, where employers will sit around a table talking about what's working and what isn't in wearables, and what's next for activity monitors. And then if you go and attend the Corporate Fitness and Nutrition Conference, you're able to actually, after sitting through it, take an exam and then actually become certified. So some of the topics that we cover in the course is Wellness 101. It's a great place to start. And then we have, I love some of the creativity of these titles. The sweatpants to a suit. I know this is what Amy was saying before. Approaching the corporate market, understanding corporate benefits for personal trainers and nutritionists, how to develop a corporate program, how to develop a program design for a corporate fitness program, making a case for on-site corporate fitness and nutrition, gaining support and reporting to management, case study on LinkedIn and Marriott's international approach to fitness, well-being, and nutrition, and its connection to corporate America's bottom line, being strong, the evolution of a pilot program created to address the health and issues of LL Bean's employee population related specifically to obesity. Chipotle Mexican Grill's case study on how high-tech and a high-touch program yields maximum impact and results in satisfaction. Health, fitness, consumer technology, the era of wearable devices and the digitized employee. One of the things that I forgot to mention also earlier is we are, our corporate wellness magazine, which is digital, and we've always done it digital because we can reach 100,000 people, during the year. It's much more effective than print. But we're actually going to issue with our first print edition in the next, I would say, 30 to 60 days. And it's going to be specifically mailed to the top 500 to 1,000 CEOs and, C-suite at companies to really show with them what's happening in corporate wellness and what they need to be doing. And, we're all really excited because we're going to have an article in there from Mark Bertinoli, the CEO of Aetna, talking about Aetna's view of wellness now and where it's headed in the future. And they're one of the biggest insurance companies, obviously, so it's going to be great to see their perspective. But we're also going to we've been collaborating with the White House and with Miss Obama's team. So we're going to have an article in there on Miss Obama's Let's Move program. And we've been working with Sam Cass and her press secretary in looking at, okay, how do we join together and take that whole concept of let's move, dealing with kids and obesity and them eating right and getting active, and let's bring that into the corporate environment and get, employers to realize, hey, it's their responsibility. And the employers can have that impact because if we can educate the employees on eating right and getting active, then they're going to go home and take that same behavior home and teach their kids how to eat right and be active, so that the Let's Move program doesn't just need to be in schools. It's something that we could bring into the workplace. So we're excited about kind of that discussion. So one of the things is after you pass the exam and you get the designation, as Amy said, you can put that seal on your business card. You can put it on your social media profile. And then, I don't know if you can see these because they're probably small on your screen, but you get a diploma that you can put on your wall. And then we list you in the Corporate Wellness magazine so that you're actually searchable. And then people can actually, if they're looking for someone who's certified in corporate fitness and nutrition, they can reach out to you and they can send you a message. So we have some specials for you if you're on the call, specifically regarding to the Corporate Fitness and Nutrition Conference certification. So if you want to come, you can actually to our event. You can get either your certified corporate fitness designation or your certified corporate nutrition designation for free, and a free pass to the Corporate Wellness Conference. If you go ahead and get certified as a corporate wellness specialist also. So what that means is basically you can go ahead and pay the $9.95 and become a certified corporate wellness specialist and do that at your own pace online. And then what that gives you is it gives you almost a $2,000 value where then you can come to the conference and get your certification in fitness and nutrition and get the free pass to the conference. Otherwise, the Certified Corporate Fitness Professional designation is $695. The Certified Corporate Nutrition Professional designation is $695. And then the pass to our conference is $895. And then if you're an HR manager, because we encourage bringing out a lot of HR and benefits managers, you can also reach out to us and get a free pass to attend the conference. So if you want to use that, get that discount where you can save almost $2,000, the code is, hopefully you can see it on your screen, it's Embrace U, with the letter U, so Embrace and the letter U. And then you use that at corporatewellnessconference.com to register. And as we were saying, the conference is almost, I think it starts about 9-10 days in Washington, D.C. Some of the case studies, I really encourage you to go to the website and look at the speakers. Obama rolled out a whole corporate wellness program for all the federal agencies, to the 180 federal agencies, and we have the senior person from Health and Human Services who's coming to present on specifically the whole federal government's wellness initiative. So some of the case studies you're getting are really great. We get HHS, IRS coming. They're going to come and talk about what's happening with corporate wellness grants, with incentives, with fines. And then, obviously, if any of you saw the recent Orion case where the EEOC sued an employer over their wellness program, we're going to be coming some of those legal issues with corporate wellness also. So I really recommend you guys come out. And then if any of you have any questions and answers, now's the time that you can type those into the email. So Matthew asked, what day between September 21st and the 24th is this fitness and nutrition course, the whole time or maybe one day? It's actually over, I believe, I should have the answer to this, Matthew, but just because we have so much going on, I don't necessarily, I'll see if I can have one of my team members get that answer for me while we're talking, but I know it's not just over one day, it's over 2 days. And I think that's probably going to be Monday and Tuesday. But if we don't get it during the webcast, I will send you, I will email you that question. Amy, we had a question that came in that someone asked, if you could give one piece of advice to someone trying to get into corporate fitness and nutrition, what would that be? And I think you're on mute.
I don't see myself. Can you hear me now?
Good.
Okay.
I hear you.
Okay. One piece of advice. Oh my gosh. I would say trust yourself and don't be intimidated by the process. Moving into the corporate wellness space can be very intimidating, and that's what I'm learning from many nutrition and fitness people who come to me. They don't almost feel as though that they deserve to be in that corporate world because that's not what they're used to. Maybe they didn't get a business degree or a law degree, but it's something that I've had to overcome a little bit. And just be confident in your abilities and your skill set and what you have to bring. You just have to remember you're actually doing a disservice by not offering your professional expertise. They need you, and that's something that I would advise you just to remember that. Yeah.
And I think something along with that, Amy, is I think that the passion. If someone's involved in that fitness or nutrition, there's a passion there that's what's needed in the workplace. That I see a lot of those the trainers and the fitness and nutrition professionals have. So it doesn't matter what your really. I don't want to say it doesn't matter what your background is, but it's not like you don't have to have experience in that corporate space to make that transition. And then there's some employers, for example, like LinkedIn. Where they decided their corporate wellness program was going to focus on fitness. That they weren't going to go, that obviously could change, but they weren't necessarily initially going to go in and do very comprehensive corporate wellness programs. They were going to come in and do, all these biometric testings and stuff. They just wanted to focus on getting their employees to be fit. And I think that, for employers that haven't implemented any kind of a wellness program, the fitness and nutrition are, the simple baby steps that are the easiest for them to implement, and I think the lowest cost also for them to implement. What challenges did you have, Amy, when you first went into the corporate space, especially maybe when it had to do with like just terminology and how you would have those conversations?
Terminology is a big thing because there's just a lot of words in the business world that I was not privy to. And I didn't know necessarily how to put together things like, say, a proposal. I knew how to put together a proposal for a personal training client, one-on-one. It was very simple. But when you have the magnitude of walking in and seeing what a company needs, and you want to be able to scale your offerings and to understand that, those are the types of things that it was a little bit of a challenge to overcome. Oh, there was a learning curve, but I was so excited and challenged by it, and what I was learning just made me that much more excited. So again, it goes back to that first question. Don't be intimidated by it. Look at it almost like a challenge, and you're doing them a disservice by not exploring this and sort of overcoming those hurdles. And this certification, what's going to be great about it is I think that there's maybe 8 or 10 different talks on different topics. Jonathan went over the curriculum. There's always going to be a question and answer period for each one. I'm going to be there. I'll be in the wellness market with my FitKit booth, but I'll also be running around helping these guys with everything. I'll be speaking on a couple of panels. And everybody's really willing to help. So that's the other thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you don't know something, just ask. Because believe me, I didn't know anything, and I now kind of a wealth of information because I had to ask.
Kerrigan asked, if she can get the corporate fitness certification or nutrition certification online because she can't make the meeting but is already a certified corporate wellness specialist. So right now, the course isn't online. We're just going to have it at the conference, but we're probably going to do an online version later during the year or a virtual event where you can get certified. And another question that came in, Amy, is do you get a lot of resistance, on the fitness nutrition side as you called on employers? And has anything changed with, how employers are viewing fitness and nutrition now than they did 12 months ago?
Certainly no resistance. I think that what they try to do is they try to have one of their staff members that they're already paying a salary to do what we can do, and then they realize that they don't have the skill set necessarily. So that, I think that's what was the exact question? I just got twisted around in my head. What was that, Jonathan?
Well, one of the questions, actually, it just dropped off my screen here, and now I just forgot because your answer.
Okay. Resistance. Was there resistance? There really wasn't any.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Was there resistance, and then has their attitudes changed in the last 12 months about how they perceive this?
Okay. Yeah. No, there has been no resistance. If anything, they welcome it that much more. They've sort of embraced it. Once they got over the hurdle of, okay, we don't have anybody on staff that can do this. We need to bring somebody to on board that can help us with this. But what has really changed, I think, is that more and more companies are realizing the value of expanding their corporate wellness programs to include more personalized, even though they have 40,000 employees, programs to their employees. Because that's what it is, that the employees really are sort of starving for this sort of attention, that one-on-one that we can bring them and scale it around to different programs. The other thing, too, though, that I will mention that we kind of talked about a little bit before, one thing that I learned, too, is a lot of the laws are very different. You know, I work for myself, I have insurance, but when you start working with big companies, you know, that was another thing that I really had to sort of learn is, you know, what are certain laws and sort of figuring out compliance and approval and all of that kind of stuff. But again, no, there hasn't been any resistance, not at all. If anything, it's been sort of exciting because it's continuing to grow and people are realizing the need for fitness and nutrition professionals. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So that's all the time we have today. As I said, you know, feel free to reach out. We'll make the presentation available later, and feel free to reach out to us. You can call, you know, or email either Amy or I, and you know, hopefully we'll be seeing you all in about 10 days up in at the conference in DC. And then, you know, Amy's really approachable, so, you know, I think she's a great, you know, person while you're there to come reach out, say hello, introduce yourself, you know, and then, you know, ask her for advice, guidance, those kinds of things. So with that, I'd like to wish everyone a good week, and thanks for joining us.